Hello, and welcome everyone to Olympia Indivisible's Meetup and Check-In. We're so glad you've joined us today. My name is Kelly. We have a full program that we're excited to bring you. But before we get going, I would like to introduce my co-host for today, Carla Wolfsberg. If you don't already know Carla, back in January 2017, she and Lisa Ornstein co-founded Olympia Indivisible. Today, Carla is an active member of OI's steering committee. Carla?
Hi, everybody. I might be having some sticking. You might hear my voice sticking. So if I get the message, I'm going to be putting up a photo, but like Kelly said, you'll still hear my voice. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about Kelly. Kelly Bohensky. Kelly and her husband, Brian, have been the co-leads for Olympia Indivisible's Get Out the Vote team for the past 2 years. And under their amazing leadership, their team has registered over 1,800 new voters, students from high school, college, and also people in marginalized communities. And, you know, as a result of this pandemic, the GOTV team was unable to do any more work in the field. Like all of us have been staying home. So when Kelly heard about this new remote project that we're going to be talking about today, that could potentially have a dramatic effect on voter participation around the country, she just said she was in, and so now she's the new lead. So I'm going to turn it back to Kelly, who's going to tell you a little bit about what's coming up in the meeting today. Kelly?
Okay, thanks. Our focus today is on the new and bold project OI is working on to help Americans to vote safely in the coming elections. We hope that our presentation will inspire you to sign up to work on the project. That is, if you haven't already. Our guest today is Daniel Kaseberg. He is our partner organization, Common Purpose in Seattle. He'll share some important information about this new remote work project. We'll hear from you, the audience, when we check in later in the program via the chat room Zoom. So have your questions ready. And as a grand finale, there will be a raffle drawing. The lucky winner will receive a beautiful print by local artist Nikki McClure. In addition, we will have a showing of video honoring our local workers in Olympia who are on the front lines. We'll finish up by noon, but if anyone has questions and would like to stay later, we'll be happy to talk to them then. Now Carla is going to let you know what OI has been up to since last January and why we made the shift to this project. Carla?
Hello. Okay, so we're going to see some slides here that might remind you. Many of you were at this meeting back in January. On Martin Luther King Day, Olympia Indivisible held a meeting downtown Olympia, and likely, I think many of you were there. You might see yourself in this photo. We invited our members and the public, and we were there to launch our 2020 goals. Our hope was that more people would be energized to take action during this critical election year. And we were thrilled that people enthusiastically joined a variety of new teams to carry out this work. We knew that in order to reach the top 3 goals about the presidency, the US Senate, and the House, that we needed to work outside our state. We needed help other states. So we adopted 2 states that were key to winning in 2020, and we chose Arizona and Michigan. And members joined teams to travel as boots on the ground to those 2 states, first to register voters. So other teams focused their work here from home to work on Arizona and Michigan through letter writing parties, encouraging people to vote. And another team wrote hundreds of postcards to voters in Arizona. So at the end of February, members of our Arizona field team enthusiastically took off for Phoenix. Next slide. Hey, there they are. And a few months later, our Michigan field team would join the Michigan team of our partner organization group in Seattle, and that was Common Purpose, to register voters in Detroit. So the Arizona field team members spent a week in Phoenix registering voters on 7 college campuses. And on the second day, when the team was in Phoenix, they learned about the first death from COVID-19 in Snohomish County. By the time the team left Phoenix, deaths from the virus were on the rise. And by the time they got home, there was nothing left on the shelves in the grocery stores. Okay, Kelly.
In only a few weeks' time, all OI fieldwork had been grounded. No traveling anywhere, no letter writing parties, no postcard writing parties. The pandemic had changed everything. We realized that to keep us moving forward on our 2020 goals, we needed a paradigm shift from boots on the ground to a safe remote project for our members. In early April, the election in Wisconsin brought to our attention, go ahead and move to the next slide, Andrew, brought to our attention at the polls has become a significant health risk. On that one day in Wisconsin, 50 people contracted the disease, the virus, excuse me. We recognized that our top 3 2020 goals could only be accomplished if people across the country were able to vote and to vote safely. We wondered what might be a new remote strategy for us to take back the presidency, flip the US Senate, and keep the House. Then we discovered our partner organization, Common Purpose in Seattle, had developed a project strategically focused on safe voting. This strategy offers easy actions that could be taken from home to help states key to the 2020 elections provide safe voting options. At the end of April, OI decided to join with CP to work on their bold new Advocacy Initiative project. What is this all about? The Advocacy project is all about pushing the governors and chief election officials in key states to support safe voting practices. We are doing this work through phone calls, emails, and tweets. We are also contacting US senators in those states to support legislation for safe voting that has recently been introduced in Congress. We learned that both mail-in balloting and early in-person voting are necessary. Some people will always prefer to vote in person. 7 weeks ago, there were 27 states to contact. Since volunteers began work on this project, 4 states have now been checked off the original list because leaders have taken official positive steps to provide safe voting in November. The green states you see in the slide are those states that have been checked off the contact list. They have moved in the right direction. The project is to contact the states is time critical. It's over in early July. The work is urgent. Why? Because state election officials need time to recognize their voting systems so this doesn't happen again. This is Wisconsin. If people don't feel safe going to the polls, they may not vote. And we wouldn't want that. Now, I'd like to tell you a little bit about our guest speaker today, Daniel Kaseberg. Daniel was born and raised as a Seattleite. He graduated from the University of Washington in 2018. Daniel worked as a fundraising associate to help elect Kim Schreier to Washington's 8th Congressional District. From there, he transitioned out of politics and into nonprofit work. Daniel worked for Plymouth Housing, one of Seattle's leading providers of permanent supportive housing. In late 2019, he began volunteering with Common Purpose as the Texas state captain, and in early 2020, left Plymouth to work on Common Purpose full-time. He now manages the Washington State voter registration and electoral programming, continues to serve as the Texas state captain, and helps manage the remote fieldwork and ongoing advocacy initiative. So welcome, Daniel. I'd like to ask you a few questions about your work with Common Purpose and the initiative.
Hey, Kelly, good morning. And good morning, everybody. It's really good to be on with you. Thank you so much for having me as part of this meeting and for that really nice welcome.
Thank you so much for being with us. What excites you most about being part of Common Purpose?
Yeah, I think that the same reason why I love being a part of Common Purpose is the same reason why I'm sure all of you love being a part of Indivisible. It means so much to have a community to be a part of in seemingly difficult and very challenging times. I think that just having community to be a part of really lifts all of us up and gets us through this work. I'd be remiss if I didn't say that it's been a really tough week across our country. It's been a really tough month. And so just even being here on a Saturday morning with all of you is the thing that kind of sustains us all. And beyond the work that we get to do, whether that's traveling or doing this remote work that we're doing now, I think the community aspect of it and just knowing that folks are doing something together and in the service of something that's a little bit bigger than themselves, I think that that's probably the most meaningful thing about CP for me. And the traveling is really fun as well. And I know that we're going to be back out there pretty soon, sooner rather than later, I hope.
So thank you so much for that. That's wonderful. What do you love most about your job as the Civic Fieldwork Manager?
Yeah, I think so. My job is shifted and changed a little bit, as I'm sure all of our lives have in response to COVID. Before this, I was really just focusing on our Washington State voter reg program and building that up in Seattle, Greater King County, and Western Washington, and was going to be leading a lot of the electoral work to support candidates in the 8th and in the 3rd. Was going to continue to travel to Texas, and that was really kind of where everybody kind of saw my role. And after COVID, and we realized that we were going to have to cancel our trips. We had 12 trips planned from March through July to 12 different states. We were probably going to take about 50 people each time to these states, and so we were going to get a lot of work done, and it was really disappointing to have to cancel all of that travel. But the one thing that my job has shifted into now is still working with the partner organizations and the Democratic parties across all of these states, and allowing us to hopefully continue to get some of that good work done remotely, whether that's calling, emailing, texting, letter writing, what have you. And so I just love how the job is really fluid and creative and just kind of responsive to whatever the need is that we feel like we need to address.
Thank you. That's wonderful. I really, I can really understand having to do a shift real quick because of the circumstances that we're in. What do you see with this advocacy initiative project? What are the successes you've seen so far around that? Can you talk a little bit more about that and what all of that means?
Yeah, totally. So I think I'll start off by saying I don't think that it's hard for many of us on this call to understand just that like voting by mail is in my eyes and in Common Purpose's eyes. I think voting by mail is the issue of 2020, and in expanding access to the ballot is how the election will be won in 2020. And it's really however many mail-in ballot applications can be sent out and registered and filed in time, and however many early voting polling locations can be opened and sustained is going to make the difference between not only just the defeat of Donald Trump at the top of the ticket, but so many other races up and down the ballot that I think that we all know are equally as critical. And I love seeing the three pillars that you had of take the presidency, flip the Senate, keep the House. We're right there with you. So I think that really this is the issue: is can people vote safely? And I think it's really going to be I think we have an opportunity to look back on this decades from now, or even just a couple of years from now, and say that the growth in the amount of people that were able to turn out because of vote by mail, we can see it as a great equalizer in American society, and it can help not just for this election, but repair many wrongs that have been perpetrated over decades in this country. So that's why we're really excited by it. And so I'm sure that you don't need too much convincing on why it's such an important thing. So I have numbers if you'd like to, in terms of.
Just tell me how many volunteers that are currently working on this project, and how many contacts have been made today?
Yeah, so we have, as of this morning, we have 461 individual volunteers from Seattle, the Northwest, and across the country who have signed up to do this work. And as of this morning, we have made 16,749 individual contacts to elected officials across the country. Yeah, initially it started with the 27 states. We've checked off 4 of those now. Michigan, New Hampshire, Virginia, and Oklahoma, and we're looking forward to crossing off more of those pretty soon here as well.
So are the states that seem to be moving in the right direction? There's like about 6. Are those ones that individuals should focus on a little bit when they're making the contacts?
Yeah, good question. So one of the directors of Common Purpose is a man by David Domke, who is a former professor at the University of Washington, left his job to actually found Common Purpose. He sends out a weekly Friday email, and every once in a while he'll sprinkle in like, ooh, if you're working on the advocacy initiative, we want you to focus on these handful of states. We give folks the option. You can sign up for 5 states, 10 states. If you want to do all 27, go for it. We think that if you have time to do anywhere like 5 to 10 states, some good ones, I'm sure everybody's aware, the biggest battleground states in America, we're thinking Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan. We're thinking Arizona, Florida, thinking Texas, thinking North Carolina. So those, like, if you only have time for that short amount, maybe less than 10, then I would say those are good ones to focus on. And just so that everybody's aware, our criteria for moving a state into the win column and kind of checking it off is we need a guarantee from the state that it's not they're not simply committed to expanded early in-person voting and voting by mail for their primary, but the end goal really is to have mail-in ballot as widely available for their primary and a commitment to it for the November general election. And New Hampshire was the first state to do that, and so that's the reason why we're able to confidently check them off. And yeah, that's what success looks like for us, is if a state says, not only we're going to do this for our primary, but let's be realistic, COVID's going to be with us into the fall, potentially into next year. And so we're going to make this accessible for the November election too, so that people have the ability to safely vote then. Great.
Well, thanks for adding that, because I really was curious for myself what was the criteria. What I'd like to ask about working with your volunteers. What makes your volunteers feel energized and hopeful about this project?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a really, really good question. I think one thing that we've heard continually is that with so much of the travel being canceled, it's just good to feel like we're doing something, and doing something that is pretty easily accessible. It's, this is the type of an opportunity where you can really fit it in to your daily and weekly routines, kind of however it works best for you. It includes calling. It includes emailing. So if you're not a caller, you can email. If you really just don't want to deal with the tech and the email, you can just make some phone calls. So I think that that's been something that's been some really good positive feedback, is just that it seems to, we always want to try to meet people where they're at. And it seems so far that folks are responding well to it, because I mean, we had folks that were signed up for like 3 or 4 trips, and they like had their whole schedule for the year was to be out in another state with us. And so the disappointment of that, I think, is made a little, the blow of that disappointment is made a little bit less when we get to be doing something like this. And clearly folks are responding to it well. Working with our volunteers is so much fun. And I think just any type of organizing group has had to figure out how to respond to COVID and shift. You know, that first couple weeks we did that sort of like, what are we going to do? Like, how do we literally, like, how do we survive this as organizing is so people to people? And I think that now that we've kind of got that under our belts, it's now we can try to start to serve volunteers the best. And so actually, I know I'm gonna go through a couple of things that we're introducing to help volunteers.
Okay.
I know that's a question that you have coming up, and so I'm excited to share how we're trying to support volunteers more frequently.
Yeah, and so we'll just go right into I'd like to know more about that, how you communicate with volunteers, and how you you know, what methods you're using for that.
Yeah, sure. So so for anybody that's interested, the primary way that we as an organization communicate with our volunteers is through
Oh, you're muted.
Oh, sorry about that. Sorry about that. We send a weekly Friday email from our whole leadership team, just basically breaking down everything that's going on, what you can get involved with, educational resources, things like that. And
do you have to sign up for that?
What's that?
Do you have to sign up for that? Okay. So
yeah, you can find that on our website. It should be at the bottom corner of our website, which is cpnow.org. I can share that in the chat feature. So that's going to get an email from our leadership team every Friday, consistently posting on social media to give updates on things. I send out a Friday email to the whole team that's working on the advocacy initiative. So that group of about 400 people, that's going to come from me every Friday with an update on our numbers, any significant updates about states, any programmatic updates that we have. So this week we're introducing a new, like a state status report of like which states are we still calling for, which states are in the win column, any news changes from the ground on those states, and so that takes place. And then 2 things that we've recently started doing is one, we're going to do remote fieldwork check-ins every Friday at noon with me and another staff person to just answer everybody's questions. So it'll just be about an hour and a half where I'll just go down the line and take literally everybody's questions about what's going on, and make sure that everybody has everything answered. But then this upcoming week, we're really excited to just launch working sessions. So just literally an opportunity for people to pop in and do work together, and just get a time and a date on people's calendars of like, a group of people is going to be working from this time to this time, doing the advocacy initiative, or making calls into Arizona and Georgia and Maine that we have going on right now on our website. And so that's one thing what we're really excited for next week. It's the first iteration of it. So we have, we're going to do 3 days a week next week for a couple hours a day, and just really casual, just giving people an opportunity to see other people face to face, and kind of do like a check-in with folks. And we hope to grow that as the year goes on to maybe expand to like 5 days a week. Yeah.
Okay, and will that come out in the update about that process and how to sign up and all of that? Okay, perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, I because I get your updates, I know there's information that you were talking about on the buddy system. Can you talk
Mhm.
a little bit about that and what that is and how it works?
Yeah, totally. We were thinking, so that came up actually in a community check-in, the one that we had 2 weeks ago, and somebody said, "Hey, like this is great. We love the project. I just need a little bit more like personal accountability. Like I need to stick with this. What can CP offer to folks to like have that sense of accountability and commitment with other people?" So we took it to our team and we thought, okay, is it something like a buddy system? Is it like an open work session, thing like that? I think that what we've established right now is that rather than like a peer-to-peer buddy system, that we're just going to do like these working sessions that are just open to everybody to hop in,
Okay.
and then we're also doing so folks can get signed up for teams like to go and do travel, and people are really attached to their team leader. They've maybe been on trips with them before. They've built up a good rapport with them. We're also going to have our team leaders bring in their teams to these working sessions, and so folks have that sense of camaraderie and people that they know pretty well. And so
Great.
for right now, it doesn't look like a one-to-one buddy system, but more just like more opportunity for people to be around other people, if that makes sense.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Also, there was in your update talk about a new win script with the advocacy work.
Mhm.
Can you talk a little bit about that and
Yeah.
how that works?
Yeah, absolutely. So also, I'll just take a step back. So for anybody that either isn't aware of this project or hasn't gotten started on it yet, what it looks like is basically step one is you'll sign up just so that we have your information. Step two, we've created like a master log of the contact information for elected officials across these now 23 states. And so that all of that contact information is going to live in one place, and it's just a really easy document to access.
We
Number
actually created a
Oh,
advocacy
that's right.
handbook that assists our members with this process. So
Awesome.
those steps are exactly right, and
Perfect.
we put those into the handbook. So hopefully it's a partnership, and it
That's
will
awesome.
help people walk through this process that you're just talking about. Because
Totally.
one of the important pieces of that for Olympia Indivisible members is that we collect their hard work and
That's right.
what that is. And already we have 22 of our Olympia Indivisible members that are doing the
Mhm.
work now. And the contacts at last date were over 603. So
Yeah.
we're really excited to be part of that. So I
It's
just
a
wanted
lot. It's a lot when we're kind of in like we're in the thousands total, and like hundreds. That's a huge chunk of what we're doing. So if you're on this call and you've been participating in it, thank you so much, because it's really making a big difference.
yeah, definitely. Um,
Yeah.
and
So
now I'd
that
like,
win column,
excuse
I
me.
I was just gonna say that win script
Oh
is gonna
yeah,
be in
yeah.
step three. We're gonna update step three to include the new win script. So just thanking states and representatives that have committed to vote by mail and expanded early in-person voting. So that will be something new that lives in step three. And anytime that we change a script, you'll know in the Friday update. We're also going to change the script next week to encompass Senator Kamala Harris's bill as well. So
Oh,
at
yeah.
the federal level, we're supporting Senator Ron Wyden's bill, which is let me make sure that I get this right, the Resilient Elections During Quarantine and Natural Disasters Act of 2020, but we're also going to throw in Senator Harris's bill as well. So look out
The
for
vote
that in the next
the
update
Vote
too.
Safe Act. Yeah, and
Yes,
that's
exactly.
actually, yeah, we have the one-page summary on the resilience. I won't kill the whole
It's a
name, but
mouthful. Yeah.
yeah. So that's in the handbook as well, and we'll be putting out an update on the Vote Safe Act, so everybody
Awesome.
has the same information. So now I want to go ahead and take a few minutes to open it up to questions from the audience. But first, I want to just quickly explain how to ask a question using the chat box on Zoom. You'll find the chat feature at the bottom of your screen. You type the letter Q, then type your question and hit send. And we'll be getting to those. I'm going to go ahead and turn my, just go to picture to boost the connection. So I'm still there, but I'll just be asking Daniel the questions.
Hey, Kelly, if I can interrupt for just a second here.
You bet.
Yeah, we've received about 10 or 12 questions, so we might not be able to get to all of them.
Okay.
And I just wanted to mention that any questions that we don't get to today, we will send to Daniel and get a response and post that with the meeting on the Olympia Indivisible website.
Yep.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Okay, well, let's start with this one is a little bit of a technical question. Here's the first question from the audience. When you first sign up to do this work on the Common Purpose website, you are asked, do you commit to daily filling out the provided log form for your records? What if someone can't do the work daily? That question has come up quite a bit.
Gotcha. That's a great question. I think what we mean with that question is each time that you perform the work, do you commit to filling out the contact log form? And so even if it's not daily, and that's something that we can definitely change the word choice on, that it's every time that you do the work, whether that's a call, an email, a tweet, what have you, just that you make a note of it in that contact log form, and don't let any of those like numbers get away from you. That's really what we mean. So definitely a word choice thing, and that's something that is super easily changed by our team.
Yeah, okay, great, thank you. So here's another question. Once you sign up, do they contact you to say you're okay, or do you just assume and go to the site to start the work?
You can go ahead and get started on step 2 immediately.
Okay.
Yeah, great question.
Are you looking for ideas on how best to accomplish your goals pertaining to voting? If so, I have a good idea that I'd like to discuss either as part of the Zoom or later. Yeah,
absolutely. Anybody can get in contact with me anytime. I'm going to leave my email and our volunteer support email as well. And you can also feel free to hop into the community check-ins that we're going to have every Friday to share that kind of question and thought process as well.
Great. Let's see. There was one article of research that mail-in balloting will favor the Republicans. What is your response to this? I realized it was only one.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and that's something that we talked about earlier this week as well, Kelly. So it's a really, really valid point to bring up and be thoughtful about, because it is such a critical year and we want to make sure that we're doing things the right way. So our team, we've not been able to find any conclusive evidence that demonstrates that vote by mail will have a preference or will result in an advantage to either party. I think at the same time that you could make an argument that vote by mail could, like, let me start from the top, that if we're thinking of predominantly conservative voters needing vote by mail, and if we're thinking of, let's say, older voters who are more susceptible to COVID and who carry a higher risk of COVID, and we want to, and vote by mail will allow them to vote in greater numbers, we could anticipate that favoring conservatives. The same argument can be made the other way, that just the sheer increase in volume of everybody voting can counteract that. And so I read that New York Times article, and right now, there is no proof to demonstrate that any preference or any advantage is going to go to either party. The way that we think about the work at Common Purpose, our mission is that we're going to do things because they're the right thing to do, and that actually just increasing access to the ballot box is something that is like when more people are allowed to vote, our ideals are going to follow. And we really believe firmly that the more people that are allowed to vote in very difficult places to vote, like Wisconsin and Georgia and Florida, the more sheer volume of votes that we have, and the more equitable we're able to be in terms of giving people that access that they might not otherwise have if expanded early in-person voting wasn't there, or expanded vote by mail wasn't there. We believe that the sheer volume is going to increase. Looking at something from Wisconsin, I saw something that I think 25% of Wisconsin Republicans said that they, in a survey, said that they would be voting by mail, and something like more than 65% of Wisconsin Democrats said that they would be voting by mail if it was an option. And so that's encouraging to see as well.
The other thing is we're in a pandemic. So everything changes because of that. So I definitely agree. I'm going to move to the next question. Just trying to.
Julia, can I just interrupt here a little bit?
Absolutely.
Just because I think maybe running out of a little overtime.
Okay.
So if we can take just one more question and we'll keep your questions going, and we'll send those to Daniel like you heard from Andrew. Thank you.
Okay, so the last question, going in order, this may be far afield, but how do the homeless vote?
How do the homeless vote?
Yes.
I just want to make sure that I got that correct.
That is the question.
That's a great question. One of the critiques of vote by mail actually is that it leaves out people who don't have addresses, or people who are frequent renters who are constantly moving in between different locations, and the registration process is difficult. For that question in general, I think it really depends on the state by state. And so it's not like a universal blanket answer. In Washington, there are many groups that like the group that I used to work for, Plymouth Housing, folks who are transitioning out of homelessness and into permanent supportive housing, who now have addresses, are allowed to do that as well. And there are other organizations that allow you to establish a PO box to be able to vote at no cost to folks who are living unsheltered and unhoused. But I think really what it comes down to is that it's a different thing state by state. But it's a good question, because that is one of the critiques of vote by mail. And that's the reason why, instead of just very narrowly tailoring our communications to vote by mail, that we wanted to make it vote by mail expansion, as well as expansion of early in-person voting, because to make sure that we're not leaving any populations out, as well as for some folks, it's just very, very important to go to the polls. That's the way that they've always done it. It's straightforward, and there's no types of misinformation.
Great. And we'll make sure I'll get any of the questions that we don't have time for today over to you to make sure we get answers, and we'll put those updates out for the members. So
absolutely, and folks can contact me anytime.
And looking forward to seeing you at next Friday's community check-in.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, hope to see some of you there. Thanks for doing this work, and for having me on. And I really, really appreciate you all doing this work, not just for us, but for your communities. And I know that we're all going to be back out there this fall working together. So I appreciate you all.
Well, we really appreciate partnering with you. Take care.
Thank you, everybody.
You're welcome to stay and be part of the meeting, or totally understand if you've got pressing matters that you need to handle. So have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks, everybody. You guys take care. Feel free to contact me anytime.
Okay, perfect. Now I'd like to introduce Lisa Ornstein. Lisa is the co-founder of Olympia Indivisible and a member of the steering committee. She has been actively making contacts for the advocacy initiative work. Lisa is going to let you know something about the work that she's been doing. Take it away, Lisa.
Okay, so am I on screen here?
You are.
Yeah, all right, well,
Is she big?
I'm here because, let's see, let me get,
There we
there
go.
we go. Okay,
There
hey
we
guys, I'm here because I want to light a flame in your heart about this project. So, you know, I was supposed to be out going to Michigan with the Field Team Michigan in May. Clearly could not do that. I'm one of those folks that Daniel was talking about, you know, had to lay aside the field work. And I was so bummed, and I noticed that my 2020 button, remember those 2020 buttons? Look at that. It was like getting like all tarnished and sad. So like I signed up with the Advocacy Initiative, and like instantly my button started to get shiny again. So I just want to tell you that if you want to bloom, you want to sign up for this project. So what have I been doing? So I signed up, and you know what I do is I just make sure that sometime during the week I'm gonna pick a couple of states, pick my states. Now I'm aiming to do actually 5 states every week. I don't always live up to my goal, but I shoot for it. And so far I have been calling the Senate offices, both in DC and regional offices, for the 2 senators of the state, you know, each state I pick, and then calling the governor's office and whoever handles their elections, Secretary of State, might be Lieutenant Governor, it's whoever it is. And then I am sending out my emails to all of those folks. And what I do, what works for me best is like, I'll do all my calls, I'll sort of batch them by message. So I'll make all my calls to the senators because it's basically the same message. And I've tailored it for myself, just so that it's personal for me. They've got good talking points, but you can make it more personal. And I just want to tell you the cheerful news, which is I have not had a single bad experience. I have been called back a few times by staffers. They are always nice. No one has ever asked me where I'm calling from. Nobody. So I'm just telling you that if that's a concern, you know, just lay that one aside, or at least I haven't had that concern. I haven't had any bad experiences. People have been the staffers have been nice. I always end by saying, and I hope that you and everyone in your office are staying healthy and safe. So I'm on my like super nice because that's what my mom told me to do. So I'm following it. It's my story and I'm sticking with it. The one thing that I haven't been doing is I haven't been tweeting. But I have a date with Jean Garwood. She is the tweet princess of Olympia Indivisible. And she, after this meeting, is gonna show me how to tweet. My iPhone is so old that I can't use the app, but she's going to teach me how to do this on my computer. So that is, to me, that is my equivalent of shaving my hair off, because I have never tweeted, but I'm going to tweet because this is important, guys. So when I finish doing, you know, whatever calls, emails, tweets, whatever I'm going to do for the day, I just keep a little list on a piece of paper, you know, who I called, Kansas, Kentucky, Alabama, wherever. And then I go and I fill out my form. I go into the common purpose. It's super easy. It's just like check boxes. You just check the boxes. And then at the very end, scroll down to the bottom, and I have the option of asking if I want them to send me my daily checklist. And I say yes. And the reason I say yes is because I want to send this on to Kelly's team. And that address is advocacynow2020@gmail.com. So that's what I do. And I just have two more things to say. One of them is that I thoroughly recommend these remote action check-ins. And I am so also going to go to one of these work sessions that Daniel called about, because yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
And you know, like, you get to live your Brady Bunch fantasy of being a little face in a box with a whole bunch of other little faces in boxes of really nice people, and chatting and making contact. The other thing I want to just add is talk it up. Tell your friends. Just this morning, I was on Facebook, and a friend from Nashville, Tennessee was talking about how upset she is about the murder in Minnesota, and she was saying how important district attorneys are, and that this is an elected office, and that she realizes that she wants to do something to help ensure that with COVID, that people are able to vote. Does anybody have an idea? Well, you never saw anybody write a response to Facebook faster than me. And I said, yes, private message me, and I'm going to connect you. And she wrote back and she said, wow, I can't wait to hear from you. So there's bunches of people you can, you know, whether it's your neighbor across the street or your friend across the nation, anybody can sign up for this Common Purpose Initiative. So that's my pitch. Now, it's your turn, folks. Now, I know that some of you are already doing this. So if you are already doing this, you can be one of the hand raisers. But what I want to see right now is, all right, who's going to sign up? Who's going to sign up?
Yeah.
I want a hand raise, because we need this. We need this. So, you know, be courageous, sign up. You don't have to worry. Nobody's going to get on your case if you don't do all the calls or emails. You get to choose how much you do, but doing something beats the heck out of doing nothing.
And it makes you feel good too.
It does. It's a real good feel.
Really contributing.
Yeah. So, and if anybody needs any help, you're feeling shy or nervous or whatever, I've listed, my phone number is in the chat box. Give me a call. I'll hold your hand safely at a distance. But let's do this. Olympia Indivisible, man, we're activists. Let's get active. Okay? That's it. Signing off.
Thanks so much, Lisa.
Yep.
You just heard Lisa mention a handbook. Where can you find it? You go to the Olympia Indivisible homepage. It looks like this. The red arrow won't be there, but that's just to show you where you click to get that wonderful handbook. And that also has the email, the Advocacy Now 2020@gmail.com is right in that handbook to make sure that all your hard work is counted in OI's numbers. Anyway, and then that link takes you directly to the handbook. It's only 11 pages long. It was created to assist you with the work. And as Lisa said, all the contact names and information, along with the scripts, everything basically you need to do the work is there. So the handbook will direct you to sign up for the project. So you can actually use that to sign up. It'll take you to the Common Purpose website, and then you come back to the handbook for the step-by-step directions. The last step of the process each day that we've talked about is to report your contacts made using that contact log form, and that's on the Common Purpose website. But since we want to make sure that all the hard work goes to back to OI, be sure to look at that last step in the directions and request a copy of your log form to be emailed to you before you click submit at the end of your session each day. We hope that by now you've been inspired about the importance of this project, the critical time frame, and have all the information you need to get started. If we help others to vote safely, they'll help us to win. Now, I'd like to turn it back over to Carla.
Thanks, Kelly. So I'd just like to remind everybody that if you still have questions about this work or anything about the project, that we've set aside some time after the meeting, and if you'd like to stay, Kelly and I, and maybe Lisa, I don't know who else, will be there to answer your questions. So just know that. And now it's time for our big finale. And I'm going to introduce Pam Pride, who is also a member of the steering committee, and she's going to take you into the last section of our meetup today. Pam, take it away.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So I'm noticing we've had as high as 62 members. I see we're down to 48 online now. Nonetheless, Kelly reported that we have 22 members actively participating in this project, in this initiative, with over 800 actions. If everybody here got on board, we could more than double that, So we got your names. Get going. And not to be outdone by Lisa, who has committed to calling into and emailing 5 states every week. I commit today to do 7.
Woo! I've got you down. I'm putting that on the list.
All right, and we'll unmute anybody who is prepared to outdo that. So raise your hand if you want to be unmuted and go on record to say you're going to do 8 states or more a week. I'll give you a second there to raise your hand. Come on, any takers? Got a hand raised.
Oh, yes.
So
This is starting to feel like an auction. I'll commit to do 9.
All right.
all right. So, and I can't see the whole screen. I'm kind of assuming Andrew can. So if you see any hands raised, oh, I just saw Mari wave her hand.
I see a few, Pam, but I'm not getting the unmute to work right now.
Yeah, okay, good. Just write their names down, and I'll be in contact. We'll check in on you. Okay, so about 6 weeks ago, the engagement team developed and then issued a Getting Active survey to inquire about the level at which our members are involved and engaged. And we got some very helpful feedback. And to entice members to participate in the survey, a prize was offered, and that is an original print by local artist Nikki McClure. And so all of you had to complete the survey in order to get your name put in a hat. And although you don't have to be present to be the winner, I know everybody here absolutely was one of the people who filled out the survey, so you're all safe. So now let me introduce you to one of the co-leads of the engagement team, the one, the only, Kim Murillo, who's going to tell you something about the survey and then choose the winner.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, so you see I have every single name that did the survey in my hat, all right?
Okay.
So just a few words. I want you to know Mary Nelson, who acquired this print for us, is holding the print. So she will arrange with you a special presentation for the print. Nikki McClure actually was approached by the fundraising team, and she agreed to donate a print. We were going to have an auction, but that kind of disappeared. But the important things that came out of this survey that I want you to hear today is our members all committed to calling members to members and also to calling people outside the state for assistance. The other thing that members agreed to do was commit to at least one call of action a week. So that again is a very important strategy for us. With that, Andrew, do a practice drum roll. And the winner is Joe Tunson. Joe won. Yay! Joe is a great person on the communication team. I can't think of a better person to have it. So it's Joe, Tougas. So write a nice description for us, Joe, of what just happened.
Okay, so I think we're now going to go to the pièce de résistance, our very own in-house video that a team of Olympia Indivisible members created under the leadership of famed videographer Kim Murillo to honor our frontline workers. But before the video begins, I'd just like to ask all of you to hold your best intentions when the bells start ringing at the end of the video for George Floyd and all the African Americans who suffered under 400 years of Jim Crow in our country. Let's start the video.
How about taking a moment to thank the front line? How about thinking of others who can't stay home? How about fighting to get these workers protection? How about standing up for the ones we love? Thank you, doctors. Thank you, nurses. Thanks for working the front line. Thank you, scientists. Thank you, pharmacists. Thanks for working overtime. How about reining it in for the bigger picture? How about putting another before yourself? How about appreciating what we took for granted? Everything. How about slow clapping those who are soldiering on? Hey. Thank you, Amazon. Thank you, grocery clerks. Thank you, all-night truck drivers. Thank you, janitors. Thanks, mail carriers. Thank you, selfless volunteers. The moment we can all buckle down, the sooner the moment this all will be over. There's so many ways to help out. Let us start by giving thanks to everyone who's sick. We're sending you love. To everyone who's struggling, I feel you. I so do. How about governing without all of the politics? How about working